Hey guys, so today we are answering a subscriber question, and the question in question was, Frederick, what type of programmers will always have difficulties finding jobs? So let's get into it. This is a fairly easy question, I would say. I mean, there are many things that can be wrong with the person that make it hard for them to get a specific job, but on average, this is a fairly straightforward question. So the two things that I will argue are the main things that determine whether or not that you get hired at any job in IT or in programming is number one, your level of skill, and number two, how good of a culture fit you are. It is these are the things that matter pretty much. It's kind of honestly, it's kind of universal for all of that's the marketplace or any job. You need to really know what you're doing, ideally, and you need to be the sort of person that people want to hang around with, or to be a person that fits into a specific a specific role at a specific company, right? So when it's something that may not be that obvious to a lot of people. I've met quite a few programmers who have this idea that if they just really study algorithms and things of this nature, that they're going to get a job, or that they know tooling and stuff like that. And the dangerous part about this, especially as a junior, is that it doesn't really matter how well. There are of course exceptions to this, but most juniors, it doesn't really matter if you focus like all your energy and your time on becoming the best programmer possible, because it's not possible for you, or rather let's say that it's very unlikely that you will gain the sort of experience and the sort of skill upfront that is going to truly impress somebody within a company. Some people do. Some people really have an aptitude for this sort of stuff, but it's very hard to just get a job solely on skill. It's a very tricky thing. And it's a fine balance, because even if you become the most skilled programmer in the world, it doesn't really matter unless you can convince people at the interviewing stage that you are actually the sort of person that they want to have around in their company. Or at the very least that you're going to make a serious contribution to the company. And that's a combination of proving both that you have skills, but also that you have the right mindset around your work and you're engaged and all of this stuff. Because I mean, if you are a very skilled but yet arrogant douchebag, it doesn't really matter how skilled you are. And that's something that you may not, well, it's kind of funny, because I've had enough people like that come through the door in an interview, and I've just kind of sat there and I've thought to myself that I wonder if it's something that is beyond some people to kind of identify that within themselves, because I want to believe that nobody wants to be like, in a conscious manner, make the decision that, hey, I'm just better than everybody else, and I will make sure that they all know it. And then they sit down and they start talking, and I kind of go, is this serious? Is this person serious? They talk as if either they're not interested in their job, or that they're not interested in the company that they're applying to, or that as if they know a lot of stuff, and I can very clearly hear that they don't actually know all that much. I mean, they have some relevancy, but they're not as skilled as they might believe. And it's something that seems to sneak up on some people. So having a fairly good self-evaluation process and making sure that you don't get to a point where you kind of get high on your own stuff and you believe that your skills are vastly superior to somebody else, like staying humble enough, if you will, is a very good tool to use to avoid this problem of becoming the sort of person that people don't really want to work with, right? And the same thing goes for being uncertain about yourself, or being overly cautious or shy or things of this nature. There's nothing wrong with being shy necessarily. It's just that it makes it very hard for people to figure out if you're a good fit for the company. The shyer you are, the harder the interviewers have to work with trying to figure out if you are going to fit well into the company. Quite a lot of companies will dismiss you if they feel uncertain about especially when you're more senior, like when you have a few years of experience, it's a balancing act. Every company will weigh how well you do in the code interviews versus how well you do in the personal interviews, and like how you actually behave. And as long as everything seems to be kinda in check, like you can be stronger in your coding and lower in your social skills, or vice versa, but it's a balancing act, right? And each company has their own scale for how they value you as an individual. So what I want you to take away from this is that when it comes to programmers who will find it hard to find jobs, number one are the people who have troubles just coding. If you are unskilled, that's going to be rough for you in this industry, because this is an expert field. It's very much a talent business. Nobody wants to just hire somebody who knows some basic code. People want to hire good software developers who know what they're doing, or at the very least people who have a very clear potential to become a highly productive programmer. That's number one. Second thing is people who have issues, like social issues. It doesn't have to be that you're arrogant, or it doesn't have to be that you have a bad attitude. It can be that you seem uninterested or like apathetic to your work, or you treat it's just a job, or that you come into an interview process and you behave as if you're not really interested in the job, or that you're interviewing for the wrong position, or if you're trying to be a manager ahead of your time, or you try to, or if you're very, very shy and it's very hard to figure out, like if you have quite a lot of personal insecurities. All of these things gives people a holistic picture of you, and as I said, it's a balancing act. Companies have their own scales for what they consider to be an acceptable candidate, and the people who usually have issues finding a job in general are the people who are off on some part of that scale. If you're either too unskilled or your social skills are not up to scratch, one of these things is the thing that's going to put the nail in the coffin for you. So at least keep this with you when you go into an interview. Have a great day.